So have you ever stopped and just wondered how a massive, complex economy like India's actually works? What are all the moving parts? Well, today, we're going to unpack exactly that. We're diving into the core concepts from Chapter 2 of the Class 10 Economics Ncert, which, for any UPSC aspirant, is absolutely essential stuff. We are going to look at the very blueprint of our economy.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the fundamental building blocks of any economy. Then, we'll see how those blocks measure up and how they've shifted over time, pretty dramatically, I might add. After that, we get to the really juicy part, a surprising puzzle about where people in India actually work. From there, we'll look at what this means for millions of workers in the real world, and we'll wrap up with the big, tough questions that are going to shape India's future.
Okay, let's start with the absolute fundamentals. Just think about all the economic activity happening around you right now. You've got a farmer planting seeds, a factory worker putting together a phone, a coder writing an app. It seems like chaos, right? But actually, all of it can be sorted pretty neatly into three main buckets. Let's take a look.
First up, we have the primary sector. This is the foundation for, well, everything else. It's where we get our hands dirty, so to speak, by directly using what nature gives us. We're talking about farming, mining, fishing, forestry. You get the idea. It's the raw starting point for every product, which is why it's often called the agriculture and related sector.
Next, we've got the secondary sector. This is the transformation stage. It takes all that raw stuff from the primary sector and through manufacturing, turns it into something new, something different. So that cotton from the farm is spun into cloth, sugar gets processed into sugar, and iron ore is forged into steel. This is basically the heart of industry.
And finally, there's the tertiary sector. Now, this one's a little different. It doesn't actually produce a physical good. Instead, it provides the services that are absolutely crucial for the other two sectors to even function, let alone grow. Think about it. Transport, storage, banking, insurance, and yes, even teaching. This is the service sector.
So we've got our three sectors, primary, secondary, tertiary. Simple enough? But how do we figure out how big each one is? How do we measure their impact? And how has that changed over the years? To get those answers, we need to talk about probably the most famous three-letter acronym in all of economics.
And that acronym is, of course, GDP, or Gross Domestic Product. Simply put, it's the total value of all the goods and services produced in a country in a given year. But there's one word in that definition that is absolutely critical, the word final. Understanding what final means is the key to understanding GDP. Let me show you why.
This example just illustrates it perfectly. See, imagine a farmer sells wheat to a flour mill. The mill then sells flour to a biscuit company. If we counted the value of the wheat, then the flour, and then the biscuit, we'd actually be counting the value of that original wheat 3 times over. That's called double counting, and it's a big no-no. So to avoid that mess, we only count the value of the final product, the biscuit that you, the consumer, actually buy.
Now, this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Just look at the shift between 2000 and 2013. The tertiary sector, the service sector, which was already the biggest, has just exploded, now contributing a whopping 68% of our GDP. At the same time, look at the primary sector. Its share of the economic pie has shrunk quite a bit. This one chart tells a powerful story about just how much the Indian economy has transformed.
So, it seems like a simple story, right? India's economy is all about services now. But hold on a minute. Because if we ask a slightly different question, not where is the money being made, but where are the people actually working, the whole picture gets turned completely upside down. And this is where we run smack into the great paradox of the Indian economy.
I mean, it's a logical question, isn't it? Since the tertiary sector produces the most value by far, you'd think it will also be the biggest employer. But is that what's really happening in India? The answer to this question is what makes our growth story so unique and, honestly, so challenging.
And here it is, the paradox, right there in front of you. On one side, in terms of value, we have a modern, service-driven economy. But on the other side, just look at where people are actually employed. The vast majority of our workforce is still stuck in the primary sector. This huge disconnect between where the value is created and where the jobs are is one of the biggest challenges India faces today.
So why? Why are so many people still working in agriculture? Well, a huge reason is something called disguised unemployment. It's a tricky situation where you have more people working a job than are actually needed. So everyone looks busy, everyone seems to be working, but their actual contribution to the output is tiny, or maybe even zero.
The Ncert book gives us a perfect, simple example with the story of Lakshmi. Her entire family of 5 works on their small farm. But the thing is, the work on that farm really only needs 3 people to get it done. So even if 2 of the family members left and got a job somewhere else, the farm's output wouldn't drop at all. Those 2 extra family members, they were in a state of disguised unemployment.
Now, this whole employment paradox isn't just an abstract economic concept. It has profound real-world consequences for the quality of life for millions and millions of Indians. And to really get that, we need to look at one more crucial classification: the split between the organized and the unorganized sectors.
This slide really lays out the 2 different worlds of work that exist side by side in India. On one hand, you've got the organized sector. Think of it as the world of formal jobs with rules, job security, and a real safety net. But on the other side, where the vast majority of Indians actually work, is the unorganized sector. And that's a world of informality, of uncertainty, and of vulnerability. Let's see what that looks like for actual people.
Let's put a face to this. So, meet Kanta. She has a job in the organized sector. That means she gets a stable salary, she has fixed work hours, paid holidays, and even a provident fund for her future. Her job is secure, she has predictability in her life.
And now, meet Kamal. He's on the complete other side of the coin. As a daily wage laborer, his life is the polar opposite of Kanta's. There is no job security, no benefits, no guarantee that he'll even have work tomorrow. And the really stark reality is that Kamal's situation is the norm for hundreds of millions of people in India.
Okay, so let's try and put all these pieces together. We have a service-led economy when we look at the money, but an agriculture-led economy when we look at the people. And most of those jobs are in the insecure, unorganized sector. So what does this complicated, messy picture mean for India's path forward? Well, it presents some of the biggest challenges our policymakers have ever had to face.
And the questions are just huge. How do we create enough good, productive jobs in our cities to give a real future to people stuck in disguised unemployment in the villages? How can we possibly build a safety net for the millions and millions of Kamals out there? How do we bring more of our economy out of the shadows and into the formal system with all its benefits? As a future administrator, these are the exact questions you will have to grapple with.
So, I'll leave you with this final challenge, which is really the central question for India's economic future. How do we bridge these 2 Indias? The India of the booming, modern service sector and the India of the struggling agricultural worker. The India of the secure, organized employee and the India of the vulnerable, unorganized laborer. Finding the right policy balance here is the key to unlocking our nation's true potential. I really hope this breakdown gives you a solid framework for thinking about these critical issues.